Back in the early 90s, R&B groups were everywhere. Jodeci had the grown folks covered with their smooth but edgy sound. Boys the Two Men were bringing that classic harmony, and groups like Another Bad Creation had the kids and teenagers screaming. But in the middle of all that, there was one group that had the perfect mix of swag, talent, and youth. That group was Immature. Three young boys from Los Angeles, Marques Batman Houston, Jerome Romeo Jones, and Kelton LDB Kessee came together with a dream. But this wasn't just some talent show act that got lucky. These boys had real talent. They could sing, dance, act, and they had the look that made teenage girls go crazy. Marques Houston was the face of the group, the lead singer with the smoothest vocals. Romeo had the cool, mysterious vibe that made him stand out, especially with that signature eye patch, which had its own tragic backstory. And LDB, he was the youngest, the baby of the group, but he brought the energy that kept their performances electric. Now, their journey wasn't just about music. These were young black boys trying to make it in an industry that didn't always treat black artists fairly, especially young ones. They had to grind, put in the work, and prove that they weren't just some one-hit wonder group, and that's exactly what they did. Immature's first album, On Our Worst Behavior, dropped in 1992 when they were just kids. It wasn't a major success, but it put them on the map. They were young, they had talent, and the industry started paying attention. But it was their second album, Playtime Is Over, 1994, that changed everything. With hits like Never Lie and Constantly, they became one of the biggest R&B groups for young black teens. They weren't just opening for bigger acts anymore. They were the main event. Their music was everywhere. If you were a black teenager in the mid-90s, there was no way you didn't have Immature on your cassette tapes or CDs. But it wasn't just their music, it was the image. These boys had their own unique style. They rocked baggy clothes, had the hairstyles that every kid wanted to copy, and of course, Romeo's eye patch became legendary. Now, a lot of people thought Romeo wore the eye patch as some kind of fashion statement, but the truth was much darker. He had suffered an accident as a kid when singer Brandy Norwood accidentally hit him in the eye with a book bag. The injury left him with a damaged retina, and he had to wear the patch ever since. But instead of letting it hold him back, he owned it. That eye patch became part of his identity, just like Left Eye's name in TLC or Slick Rick's look. As the 90s went on, Immature kept dropping hits. Albums like We Got It, 1995, and The Journey, 1997, proved they weren't just some kids who got lucky. They were here to stay. They were maturing, their music was getting deeper, and fans were growing with them. But as their careers soared, things behind the scenes weren't as smooth as they looked. The industry is never easy, especially for young black artists, and Immature had their share of struggles. For one, they were constantly compared to other groups, whether it was Jodeci, Boys II Men, or even newer acts like B2K. The industry always wanted to pit them against somebody, and while competition can be healthy, it also creates pressure. Then there was the business side of things. Like so many young black artists, they weren't always getting the respect or deals they deserved. Record labels and executives were making the real money, while the artists had to fight just to get their fair share. And when you're young, you don't always see what's happening until it's too late. But one of the biggest changes was when LDB replaced original member Don Half Pint Santos. Half Pint was part of the original group but left early on. To this day, the full story behind why he left has never really been explained. Some say it was creative differences, others say it was personal reasons, but whatever happened, LDB came in and became part of the group's identity. Another struggle? The transition from boys to men. When you're a kid group, you have a built-in fan base. The teenagers love you. The girls scream at every concert. But as you get older, you have to evolve. The cute young boy image only lasts for so long. That's when they made a major move, changing their name from Immature to IMX. By the late 90s and early 2000s, R&B was shifting. The young fans who had grown up with Immature were now teenagers or young adults. The music had to grow with them, so in 1999 they rebranded as IMX. They were older, their style was more mature, and their music reflected that. Their 1999 album introducing IMX had more grown-up themes, smoother production, and a more polished sound. But the industry was different now. The late 90s and early 2000s had new acts taking over. B2K was the new hot boy group, and even though they were heavily inspired by Immature, they got most of the attention. IMX kept making music, but by 2002 they decided to step away from the group. It wasn't a messy breakup, just a natural evolution. Marques Houston went solo, Romeo focused on acting, and LDB kept his career low-key. Out of all the members, Marques Houston had the biggest post-IMX career. He went solo and dropped R&B hits like Clubbin' and Naked, but he also became a well-known actor, starring in You Got Served and continuing his work from his sister Days. In recent years though, he's been in the headlines for some controversial reasons, mainly his marriage to a woman 19 years younger than him, whom he met when she was reportedly underage. That situation had social media talking for weeks. Romeo stayed more private, he continued acting in a few projects but mostly stayed out of the limelight. He's done some music here and there, but never pushed for solo stardom like Marques. LDB has been the most low-key of the group. He's made some appearances here and there, but never fully re-entered the spotlight. Immature might not always get the credit they deserve, but they paved the way for groups like B2K, Mindless Behavior, and even Pretty Ricky. Their impact is undeniable. The hits, the style, the influence, it all still lives on. They were more than just a boy group. They were a moment in black music history. So whether you were rocking with them back in '94 or just discovering them now, one thing is clear: Immature will always be remembered.